Today we are talking about runner's dystonia, and we get to meet one woman who has been on a journey with us, and she's going to share her story and the impact of therapy on runner's dystonia. So I'm going to bring Maureen on here, but as I do, there's Maureen. I just want to introduce myself if we haven't met. My name is Julie Hirschberg. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, a lover of dystonia in the brain, to be honest, and the owner and founder of Reactive Therapy and Wellness. I'm here in my new office in our El Segundo location, and I get to meet here and hear their stories, get to be a part of their programs when they're here, and it is just actually the highlight of my week. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, how are you?
Oh,
It's so
I'm
nice
so
to
good.
meet you.
I know we haven't met. I've only watched your videos, Maureen.
And I watch yours too, so.
So we're equal. We're equal. Had you been here in El Segundo, in our new space, I would see you every day. But when we were in our old spaces, I was between two clinics,
Yeah,
so I didn't get to see everybody.
the new
So,
place looks beautiful.
it's so nice. It's
Yeah.
so very nice. Well, I'm so happy that first of all, thank you for doing this with me. Because we encounter so many people like you with runner's dystonia, and it's not very common. And so for people to hear from other folks like themselves is really
Yeah.
important. So I wonder if you could share a little bit of your story of runner's dystonia and getting diagnosed and things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I became a runner a little later in life after I maybe had like my last child, and I used to run Boston every year. I would run Boston and try to qualify for the next year, and that's just what I did. I would run, qualify, run it the next year, and went well, and then it was after, the bombing for the marathon happened in 2013. And so 2014, I had run two races because I just thought it would be too crowded to qualify at 14 because everyone wanted to run it to show their support. And so both of those races went well. I had no problems. I believe it was a month after that Boston in 2014. I always took a month off, and I was trying to run in May, and I just felt like running was so much more difficult, but I couldn't figure
Mm.
out why. It's not like I could tell that there was some abnormal movement or anything. And I felt like it was harder to breathe almost. And
Mm.
so I thought, oh, it's May, it's spring. I've never had allergies. Maybe I have allergies. So I was trying to take allergy medicine. And so throughout that summer, I just decided, okay, maybe your body needs a break. And I would do other things, but I would always try to come back and try to run a little bit. And it wasn't like I was physically unable to run. I just felt like I couldn't get the turnover. It felt like running in quicksand. It felt really hard. I didn't really know what that was. It took about, I'd always seen a PT for just to stay in shape for all these marathons.
Mhm.
And I had always kind of whipped my right leg, which now is my affected leg. Like that was just my gait. It was an
Okay.
effective gait. I had done it for 10 years. So he was like, well, maybe we should just try to like kind of like get you to align right.
Okay.
And it just really wasn't working. And he's a
Mhm.
really knowledgeable, amazing PT. And he just said, he didn't know a name for it, but he said, it seems like a wiring issue. Like your
Oh.
brain is not talking to your leg. Like you seem strong enough, you seem all this stuff. And he's like, I don't know what it is, but there's a wiring issue. So that sent me down a journey of going to see all these different doctors.
Mhm.
And I probably have, like, I had everything, like everybody around here. I had everything MRI'd. I had 1,000 nerve conduction studies, EMGs, everything,
Mhm.
it's first it's a relief because they're talking about things like, you know, um, MS, or they're talking about, my grandmother passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease. So
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, and so getting all those ruled out, you're like, phew, you then feel like grateful. They
Yeah.
still don't, so you're grateful, but then they don't have an answer. So
Right.
I guess I just at that point, you definitely, you know, you go through a mourning. So I mourned for a year because you lose your identity, right? That's
Yeah.
how I dealt with my stress my whole life. Like college, marriage, med school, anytime I had any sort of thing where I need to clear my head, I went out the door.
Yeah.
And so you kind of lost, and then your friend group, my friend group was all my different running friends. So you definitely go through you know, you go through a mourning phase. And then after about a year, I was like, okay, like you have no choice. This is your reality. Luckily, we don't know what it is still, but luckily it's nothing that at this point they think is, you know, something that I'm going to die from. So it was on, and I would not go see doctors. And then I'd get frustrated after a few months. I'd be like, oh, don't give up. And I'd research some more and I'd go see somebody else and I'd go see somebody else. And it was actually a girlfriend of mine who's a runner who, you know, my running friends would always listen to me. And she said, I read this article in Runner's World about this guy who sounds so much like you. He runs backwards and he runs on different surfaces. And it sounds like everything that you're talking about. And he has something called runner's dystonia. And I sort of read the article and I was like, oh my God, this is what I have. So then that gives you kind of, you know, it's a relief really, because you start to think a little bit, even though you know you're not crazy because you physically can see what's happening, you start to question yourself. So that was a relief. So then that opened up some more channels where I, you know, again went back to the places in Boston. But unfortunately, even in Boston, like, you know, I'm at MGA. You know, MGH is considered the mecca of medicine, New England Journal of Medicine, and they were like, yeah, but there's nothing you can do. So that wasn't, so I just decided, okay, I'm not going to be a runner anymore. This is okay. And I pivoted to CrossFit and yoga. And I think that has served me well, which will come forward later, but I didn't know that then. I just did it because I was like, I have to find a way to be active.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then I've tried various programs before coming to you guys. I did Dr. Farias, I think I'm saying his name
Yeah.
right, in Canada. And I think that was around 2018. And, you know, I feel like every program teaches you something and is helpful in different ways. And so the great thing about that was, you know, he taught me it wasn't my fault. Like I kind of thought, you know, all my family was like, oh, it's because you run and you do too much and it's overuse, and kind of like you brought this on yourself. And it was really nice to hear. I am at that point when I saw him. So I think I saw him in 2018. I told you this is 2015 when I first noticed it.
Yeah.
So I went, you know, 3 years without doing any sort of running. And at that point, it even started affecting my walking. Although when I went to see him, I remember I was in a good spurt, but I did college tours with my kids where I used to walk backwards because I couldn't even do college tours when they were visiting. And they, you know, he gave me hope. Like, you know, like he had dystonia of the face and it was gone. Like when I saw him, I couldn't tell he had it. So that was like, oh my God, look, he got better. And, you know, it felt good to know this wasn't your fault. And here I am thinking I should avoid walking and running. And he was like, no, you have to teach your brain again how to redo that. So I found that was helpful.
That's
I did
great.
Ruth Child's program. That I didn't resonate as much with me, as your therapist will laugh at me because, you know, it's hard for me to get mindful. And it was a lot about that. I don't think I'm sure her program's fabulous. I just don't think I was there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
program helped me with that a lot. So I think that I'm just a more like, you know, physical type person. And that was harder for me to tap into, but it is an important part of the process. So I found you guys, I think, just on Instagram. I think, yeah, I think stories came up, and then I saw Bree's story, and you know, I was toying with should I, and I've done, like, obviously we all do a lot of things, whether I do myofascial release every week, I go to the chiropractor every week, I do physical therapy every week. So we all spend a lot of money on our bodies to be able to function. And you know, I was like, should I or should I not, you know, do this? Because it's a big commitment. It's a financial commitment. I'm fortunate that my children are older. So coming out and taking that time off, and even from a work perspective, it's okay for me. So I didn't have those challenges, which was really nice, but it's a big commitment to say, do I spend this money? Nothing's a guarantee in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, you know, the first week I was with your program, I was like, I don't even think it was the first week. I literally think it was after the first day. I called my husband. I said, oh yeah, this was worth it. This was worth it.
What?
And since I've been back, I met with somebody who wanted to talk with me, who had done the program with me in Canada. And and she was a little frustrated because we thought places in Boston was starting to do what you guys are doing because they look like it on paper, but they're really not. Like you go to PT and then you go, it's not this team approach that you guys have,
Mm-hmm.
which is really unique. And I really hope other places adapt what you guys are doing, because when I was there, I was so grateful. Your team is amazing. The people are amazing. The experience was amazing. It made me realize there's no reason why other places can't do this. They just choose, I think, not to prioritize something like you said that is so rare. And maybe it's not beneficial as other areas that are much more common. And you could see, like, you guys are putting in a lot of training and effort for a very small amount of clientele. And I'm so
It's true.
grateful for that.
It's
So,
true. It's true. But as you know, it's our like our whole team loves this. Loves this like brain body interface. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think you see that with them. They're so enthusiastic. So you're like, I did not. It's going to therapy for me was like going to visit my friends, and it was fun. Like I loved it. I loved it. And it's funny because the gal that I met with again, I just met with her on Monday, and she was like, well, because our physical therapist is so good here. And she's like, well, can he work with the both of us? And that's the thing with dystonia, is it's too specific. I don't think you can really group it. Like the way I'm
Mm,
affected is so different than the way she's affected.
right.
So even me sharing my exercises with her, I don't think it's not beneficial if the area that's affected, even though she has runner's dystonia, hers is more in her foot and her toes, mine is more in the hip area. It's just different stuff. Like
Yeah.
the theory is the same, but you
Yeah.
need that individualized treatment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself, because people ask me all the time, well, what's one exercise I could do? And I was like, well, I would need to assess you
Yeah,
first to see what you, Maureen, really need. And I'm so
exactly.
curious, like in that team approach, as you know, we look at the whole pie chart. There's motor control, there's sensory, there's autonomic pieces. What were some of the things that you learned you specifically needed?
I think one of the you know, I love physical therapy. That's just because I love exercising. But I did love how they taught me, you know, and I thought I had good balance and I thought I was strong. Like I came in there with um, a lot of things from my CrossFit and my yoga that I think were beneficial, but just the way they fine tune things, like, I think those specific exercises for me to work on, given that I favor one side, given that maybe I'm collapsing a little bit in my hip, I think that was really important. But like I said, the other thing that's so amazing about it was also learning to tap into my nervous system. And this is what I'm still
Mm,
working on. That, I am somebody who probably always operates at a 9 or a 10. I
mm,
am always on a high. I am not on a
mm.
low.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Maureen.
when I listen to you, I laugh because I'm like, oh my God. Like they were calling me, and I tell everyone this now, I'm a boom or bust. Like I wake up and I'm like, boom. And I run around like crazy until nighttime when I bust. And
Uh-huh.
so they were like, you have to learn to regulate your nervous system, turn in, be aware of your nervous system, regulate it yourself. And don't think, because I was saying how when I go to yoga, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the only time. Okay, you can't always
Mm,
regulate your nervous system when you have an hour to be on the mat. You have
mm,
to learn how to do this in your car, little snippets during the day. And so they just throw a bunch of things at you to see what's going to stick, because some things aren't going to stick with me. Like I'm like,
mhm,
oh, I'll never be able to do that. Like I
mhm.
can't turn off my mind in that way,
Yeah.
but some things I could do. And so that's what I loved about the team approach is they don't try to make you do something that they know you're not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And consistently, I mean, I feel this with my soul because it's like there's, as you said, there's not a one size that fits all. And it's like you might try something and go, oh, that really doesn't fit. Like, let's get creative together and figure out something else that you can do.
exactly. And then the other thing that was, pointed out, so I'm still working on regulating the nervous system, but they gave me so many ideas and I came home and got all that stuff and I'm working on that. And then the other thing was just how, it's just pointing out the fact that with dystonia, you really have to keep things variable and you can't be
Yeah.
so routine. And I am a creature of routine. I do not like change. We're even
Yeah.
laughing. The shirt that I have on, my exercise shirt, I have in like 6 colors. And Lincoln and Ava were like, "We really like your shirt," but I'm like, I know I don't even vary my wardrobe. You know what I mean? Like I'm so rigid. So that was a really good point. Like you have to get out of your comfort zone and do different, even whether it's the exercises or the mindfulness. Like you can't let your brain get comfortable with that same pattern. And that
Yeah.
was, and then even I had never done therapy in my life. And the therapy was so helpful to teach me how I'm wired as a person. I'm fortunate that I know some people it's been brought on by trauma and such, and I don't have any of that.
Mhm.
But, Kimberly, she pointed out things about how and I think it's being a mom and a
Mhm.
physician. I want to fix everybody. I want to take everybody in. I never turn off. If you call me, Julie, and you have a problem, I feel like I have to answer. I can't let Julie
Um,
down. And they were like, guess what? If someone's knocking at the door, you don't have to answer. You can choose to answer, but you don't have to answer. I say that that line in my head all the time.
wow. I'm
Like when someone does it,
gonna write that one
yeah,
down,
my
Maureen.
impulse is yes every time. Yes. And and
Yeah.
and these guys have taught me to say, wait a minute, think about it. Do you want to? You can
Yeah.
answer the door. Okay, let's say you want to answer the door. You can answer it. You don't have to answer it right now. You can answer it later. Or you could choose not to answer it. I mean, it sounds so simple, but that's what I'm talking about, this individual approach. That may not be what someone else has to deal with, but
Mhm.
that is how I'm wired. So
Right.
all these things that you guys pointed out are all things that I'm still incorporating today and working on.
Yeah.
As a result, when I got home, after I'm on the phone with you, I have my therapy appointment. I started therapy because of this.
Oh
Because I'm like,
my gosh.
yeah, I've always been so good about the physical. I'm like, I need
Yeah.
to work on the mind.
Yeah. From like a lifelong health habit, I'm just like cheering you on, Maureen,
Yeah.
because that is so true. And I think so for people that maybe don't know our team, and I think a lot of people I meet with runners just only are like, I need physical therapy only.
Yep.
But you had physical therapy, you had occupational therapy, you had psychology as a
And
part of
then,
your team
and yoga.
and yoga therapy. So
Yep.
you had a
Yep.
really broad team. And I wonder, like you shared so many little tidbits of how these other team members were helpful, where you might not have known that that would be so helpful, right?
I totally agree with you. I mean, um, I agree with you. I did not get how, I mean, I obviously understood the physical therapy, but I did not understand. And even yoga, which I did do, what I learned was, and she sent me all these ways that you can do shorter versions of that and not have to always commit to that hour class that I run to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even that, like things that you think it was really helpful. And the OT I knew nothing about. So that was really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it, I'm curious, like, what was it in OT that you found the most helpful?
Um, God, there were so many. I think one of them was, like I said, learning to be learning to understand your nervous system and how to regulate that. That's what she
Mhm.
really was working on me with. And, identifying, what I find relaxing. And when I was out there, I find the ocean and all that very relaxing. Well, in Boston, we only have that for like 3 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
So she was kind of teaching me ways that I could tap into that without like that, how I feel there. How can I tap into that here? Whereas it's certain smells or listening to certain music or, ways that I can bring that feeling into me. And even things as simple as look, I was saying how I really enjoy reading and like a cup of tea, but I would only have my tea in the morning and I only read my book at night.
Mhm.
Those are both very relaxing things to me. And she's like, okay, why don't you do that in the middle of the day? And I was like, oh, like I just would never. And it was like you schedule anything else in. Schedule. So I have a beautiful sunroom in here behind me. And that's kind of like, even in the winter, it's super sunny in there. So, and
Oh,
it's warm and it's snug. So light that candle with that nice smell, go in that room and read for a half hour. I never did that
beautiful.
before. And I did do that. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of arts and crafts that I've ordered yet, but I haven't worked on yet because I have been so busy. But that was another thing that she was showing me things that she threw all different types of games and fun things until we found things that stuck for me that I would find fun. Like OT was all about how to, bring out that fun child in you again.
Mhm.
And I think as adults, we don't do that. We don't give ourselves permission to play.
Yeah. 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 Amazing, amazing, Maureen. And I'm curious, like, what changed during the program with your walking or running? Like, what kinds of improvements did you see immediately? And then it sounds like you're continuing to
Yeah.
go here, which is
I
great.
mean, I've had improvement, then I had a little bit of a setback, and then I'm getting better again. And that's honestly, it just, for me, it shows what I learned from your program. I know
Mhm.
everyone online. I see what people write in different Facebook groups, and I'm like, I did this and it didn't work, and I did that and it didn't work. And it's not, for me, I feel like this is something that I don't think I'll ever be cured, but I think it's learning um, what works for you and what you can do to make
Mhm.
it better. So when I was
Mhm.
there, because again, I was only committed to this, when I first got on the treadmill or even with running, it's just that right hip area just didn't feel strong enough to support, even though it was, like I said, in CrossFit, I
Mhm.
can do single leg squat. I can do everything. Like I have a lot of muscles. It was, we worked on so fine tuning that I think by the last week, I was so blown away by how I felt for the first time in years. Like it
Mhm.
was balanced. I was like, whoa, like I've tried to run before, but I always was dragging the leg, dragging the leg. And the last, probably at least the last week, maybe the last 2 weeks, I was really feeling, wow, this is a natural little balance here.
Mhm.
And then, the other thing is I think I navigated the airports and malls are horrible for me. I navigated the airport home seamlessly, seamlessly. I
Mhm.
mean, I think I may have texted, your team immediately, Lincoln and Ava and those guys immediately, because I was like, whoa, that was amazing to me. And what I've realized is, you guys have given me tools to use. So then I'll give you an example. So then I was good for the first month when I got home, doing all my stuff. And then the second month, like life got in the way. There was
Mhm.
travel, there was this, things got in the way. So I got off track. But even when I got off track, it was funny. I just said to my husband, because I just got backtrack. I just started getting back on track again. And he said, you say that you weren't as good, but we did a trip to DC. We walked all over the city because I don't like cities. If all of us like grass and, whatever, we don't like the hard surfaces. And he goes, you said, it wasn't as smooth as it's been. He goes, but you walked all over. Like we didn't Uber, we didn't. And I said, well, but I used two tactics. I learned that there's some tactics that I can have that I can always use even when on the go. So one of them is I put a band around my thighs. And when the band is around my thigh, it gives me that sensory feedback. It keeps my hip straight. I don't
Yeah.
care if he laughed, I don't care what I look like. So I just put my band on and I keep walking all over the place. So the band works. And then the other thing that works for me that your team has taught me is the mirror therapy works amazing for
Oh.
me. So I
Oh.
I take my phone, I put it down, to look at my feet as I'm walking. So I look like a teenager who's distracted and not looking ahead because she's looking at her feet. And when I do that, I walk amazing. So
Wow.
those are things that I can do on the go. So when
Yeah.
so I've done a lot of traveling in the last month, which I normally get really anxious about because it's, oh, what if I
Mm.
don't pack the right shoes and these shoes worked the last time, but what if these shoes don't work this time? And because I always have my phone and because I always travel with the band, it's a sense of comfort and it works.
Ah,
But
that's
like I said,
huge.
because I've been traveling and I took time off, I hadn't been on the treadmill and practicing, my practicing every day. And today I got back on and I could tell in the beginning it was, the last couple of days I got on it. In the beginning it was a little wonky. And now because I'm putting the work in, doing the single leg exercises, getting back on the treadmill, I can see it kicking in again. So
Yeah.
it really is a commitment that, you just have to find the time to do. And I went back. I love, for anyone who doesn't know, your team, another wonderful thing about your team is we have this full document on everything you guys have taught us. So recently I was like, wait, I got to go back again. And I love that it like broke down specifically for me. Before you do CrossFit class, do these warm-ups, then do 20 to 30. Like it reminded me, I only have to do 20 to 30 minutes of walking practice a day. I don't have to get on there for an hour. The commitment can be
Mm.
tiny. So it was just helpful to go back. And because, like I told you, I'm not someone who likes to vary things, it was good to go back and say, okay, I got to pick out the ones because I keep picking the same
Mm.
exercises. But you guys gave us things on our phone, like apps we can do. So, for balancing. So these are things that you can do even when there's really no excuse to not do it is what I'm trying to say. Even when I'm traveling, like that's on me. That's on me. I could have done those. I could have done those in the hotel room and I didn't do them. So
Yeah, but that is realistic, Maureen. I think
yeah.
that's like for humans, right? Like there's going to be a time where our like life and brain are just elsewhere, but then it's knowing that you can come back and get back to it that's really important because that there's some hope in that that
Definitely.
you can keep moving forward, that not every little setback is like back to step one. Um
Yes.
yeah.
That's how I feel. Like this is why I wanted to do this. Like, listen,
Yeah.
nothing in this is a cure, but I think what you guys have is the best that's out there. It is the best that's out there. It's a team approach. It's individualized to you. You have this document that you then can follow later. And I'm not against medicine or interventions, but if I could always uh, do things without that, then that's what I want to do. So for me, this was perfect because I had
Yeah.
never done any sort of medication for it. I think one of the movement places tried to prescribe me Ativan, and I took it and I literally fell asleep. I was like,
Yeah.
never mind walking. I can't even get out of. I can't. I was like, I was visiting my son in college, and I fell asleep on the couch. I was horrified.
Oh my gosh, Maureen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and somebody is commenting here of a frustrating issue is that some doctors may not prescribe therapy at all. They might just think, oh, we'll just add a van or let's just Botox a muscle. Because frankly, especially in runner's dystonia, it's there's no large trial that is saying that certain things are helpful, and so it really is so individualized. But I just want to acknowledge this comment here that is frustrating, and it's part of the reason we try to get the word out that there are some small studies to support therapy in dystonia,
Oh
um,
yeah,
and
because I would tell you, Dr. Farias was the one because a lot of people in that program had come into it doing Botox. I hadn't.
yeah.
And he really discouraged it because he said you're shutting down muscles and you're making them create a different pathway than they should. So he really discouraged it, and I hadn't pursued it yet. So therefore, I didn't. But the reason why I think the movement disorder clinic wanted Ativan was they were like, oh, like when you relax, which is true. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I quit it out as a reason to just get healthy in general. But I would notice that when I had a glass of wine and I felt relaxed, I would walk normal. And I'm like, am I supposed to walk around like drinking every day? I don't think that's a good solution for my health. And I don't know if that's why they tried it because they thought, oh, it could relax you.
Oh.
But it
Mm.
did not, it didn't work for me.
It overly relaxed you,
It
Maureen.
overly relaxed me.
The thought of
Exactly.
you sleeping on your son's couch is just
Yeah.
cracking me up.
I'm glad you visited,
Um,
Mom.
I know, I know. Yeah, and as somebody else is commenting here too, some of that perspective from the movement disorder doctor could be that if they send somebody to a therapist that doesn't understand dystonia, then that physician is saying, well, therapy doesn't work because maybe the therapist or the therapy wasn't dystonia specifically. um and that's part of our mission. That's why, Maureen, I think you just taught the class on dystonia for clinicians. You did, just like the pieces that you brought up, the variability, the sensory pieces, having many strategies to pull into situations. These are the kinds of things we want therapists to understand and know, for
Yeah,
dystonia.
it was funny because even when I went to the movement disorder clinic at Mass General and they sent me to their physical therapist, they were more just saying trick your brain, you know. But again, you guys are specific. They didn't look at me and say, "Oh, this is coming from your hip and do these strengthening exercises." And by the way, here, like you guys threw all different tactics about how to distract my brain. You can't just say distract your brain. Like that's just too vague for people. You have to be
Yeah.
really specific. And one of the most eye-opening ones that your team had me do was they blew up a balloon, and they were like, just try to keep the balloon in the air. And when I tried to keep the balloon in the air, I walked completely normal, because I was up, and I was like, oh my god, this like that was like wow, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge insight into the like role of attention in driving some of the dystonia too.
exactly.
So,
And then I'll tell you
yeah, wow. You,
other thing that you guys mentioned. This is why your program's so important too, because how specific it is. Because the gal that I met with on Monday, she's like, "Oh, I would love to walk with you. I walk better when I walk with people. I'm the reverse. I walk worse when I walk with people." So again, it's just so individualized that I think that's why your team only paying attention to you is so beneficial.
yeah. What an important message, I think, when it comes to dystonia and so many neurologic disorders. What your brain needs is different than mine, although I think we have a lot of similarities,
We do.
Maureen, but
We do.
we definitely do. But like, yeah, walking with a person, not walking, having some sort of sensory on your hip, it depends on where your dystonia is coming from.
Yes.
All of those things are so very unique. Um, and I think that's a great message for clinicians too, is that like there's not a sensory or sorry, a dystonia workbook per
No.
se that
No.
you could apply to everybody, but really having an individualized approach. I think
And
that's a
and your
great
pro
message.
and your program, like I said, it's not. I don't feel that I am like I'm done with it, even though I have everything that you guys put um, in the plan for me. I know that I could schedule follow-ups when I'm ready. Like I said, I originally planned on following up in May, and I'm probably going to push it out a little bit more because I haven't been fully able to implement everything you guys taught me. So I'm like,
Mm,
I don't have questions, or I don't want to take it another step further because I'm still working on what you guys already gave me.
yeah,
So you're not left in the dust after this. Like you can do follow-ups and you can continue with this.
yeah. Yeah, that's fabulous. I want to get in on that follow up, Maureen. I want to go to that session. Well, Maureen, this has been fantastic. Like honestly, I'm going to send this recording to all of our clinicians, like across the country, right? Like we have a network of thousands of clinicians across the country. I think you've shared so many great nuggets for them as well as people with dystonia, right? And I wonder if you wouldn't mind ending with sharing, if somebody is feeling kind of lost or stuck or given up hope, what message would you share for the person with dystonia?
I mean, I get why you're discouraged because I think it's really hard when your mind wants to do things that your body won't let you. But so that's why I do think therapy is important, the cognitive behavioral therapy, because I do think we have our own process we have to work through. And then I would guess say, don't give up. We all go through periods where we're saying, this is like ruling me and I'm getting nowhere. And that's okay. You take a break. You take a break from it. And then you come back and you find what works for you. And I do think that, if running is not in your future, like, Lincoln, I think asked me, like, do you want to run again? I'm like, that would be great if I ran well again, but it's okay. Like just find a way that you can live out a quality, meaningful life. And, I do believe everybody can get there in some version. It's just not an easy journey. You have to put in the work. But
Yeah.
I'm so indebted to, like I said, people like you, and you said you're going to send this to all the clinicians, because we don't, like I said, we don't have a lot of people. We have a lot of great therapists in a lot of great areas, but we just don't have the people who are working with people like us. And I think that makes it so much harder.
Yeah. 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 So that's part of our mission, Maureen. we
Oh,
are,
and I
we're going to
applaud you guys for that. Just to get
educate
more
the
people.
masses. Yeah. 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 This should be available in every corner of the world to
Yeah.
people. So, um, Maureen, thank you. Thank you so much for your time before you head off to therapy.
Yes, I know my
And
4 o'clock therapy.
I know you got 4 o'clock therapy. I want to give you time to
Oh,
transition to
I have
therapy. Maybe you
tons
could
of
have,
time.
I have a little teapot back here that I was like, I'm going to do a midday tea.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
it's a fabulous idea.
It's a
So,
great idea. It's very calming. Like I said, I don't know why I wouldn't have thought of that. That was your team. It seems so simple, but it's things like that. And we all have to change a little bit. We have to adapt in this way. To help our brain
yeah.
adapt, we have to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So thank you so very much, Maureen. And yeah, I can't wait to see
Thank
what's
you.
next for you. All
Yeah. Well,
right.
I may be out to visit you guys again soon. I want to see the
Okay.
new place. Okay. Bye
Yes,
bye.
yes. All right. Bye.